Mountain bike technology has progressed so much over the last 25 years. Bikes have become lighter, faster and stronger, but not all of those bikes have been design classics. And actually, not all of them are good looking, come to think of it.
Yeah, that's true. Some of you have said weird, others have said ugly. I'd leave it up to you guys to decide. So let's take a look at our top 10 weirdest mountain bikes.
Well, V-shape it certainly is. Cannondale were really pioneers in developing full suspension bikes in the early 90s, but it definitely is a bit funny looking.
Yeah, big tubes, striking angles, and that head shock design, finished off with curly bar ends. What a look.
Pretty 90s.
The white had a radical design that certainly made it stand out from the crowd, and I don't mean radical in a good way. However, they were loved by a small bunch of people for their excellent cross-country characteristics. That was by anyone who was brave enough to be seen on one in public.
Yeah, it's that really unusual looking +4 fork on the front. Uses an air shock. They're designed not to dive under heavy braking, so the head angle actually stays the same. Apparently they're really hard to set up, and also I dread to think what the maintenance would be like. Made in New York, Brooklyn in fact, you'd never guess that. The company is now actually part owned by Pharrell Williams, so Brooklyn is definitely a cool brand. They definitely don't follow the rule books when designing bikes.
Yeah, definitely remembered for massive amounts of suspension, largely overbuilt.
No, they weighed in at about 65 pounds, some of these, so big old things. Ugly, I don't think so, but definitely unusual.
Whilst not exactly a crazy concept, having the frame tubes with those sort of bends in is definitely unusual.
The angles of the seat stays and that large suspension linkage definitely makes it stand out from all those other brands that use this 4-bar linkage. Whether or not that's a design feature or just something to make them look different, who knows. This is a definite case of function over form, so we should cut the KARPIEL a little bit of slack, as this bike was designed to let Josh Bender ride things that were definitely not considered before.
You can't take away from him what he achieved on this bike was definitely pushing the boundaries of the sport, but actually it was purely designed to do massive drops and probably had little use for anything else.
Yeah, it was hugely overbuilt, really heavy, 12 inches of travel. You wouldn't want to try and pedal or corner this thing.
I would file this under what the hell were they thinking? Just as the Gervin flex stem was supposed to provide damping for your hands with a small flex in the stem, this is what they aim to do with the top tube and seat post, if you like, providing a little bit of flex and therefore a softer ride on your bottom.
There was a long beam mounted to the top tube to give the saddle a bit of damping. I guess somewhat okay if you're sat down pedaling, if you don't mind your effective saddle height moving around all the time, but totally useless when you're stood up. Not the easiest bike to mount to your car roof rack. The Slingshot actually uses a steel cable instead of a regular down tube.
Yeah, the idea was to use a spring and cable system to return the energy lost during a pedal stroke.
Not exactly a flash in the pan, the Slingshots. They've been making these bikes for 29 years.
Neil, one thing I'd like to ask you, would you like to take it on your local trails?
I would be slightly intrigued, but a little bit scared, I think.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you there. Let me start by saying that their modern version is actually a very nice looking bike, but the Evolution, perhaps not so much.
Yeah, the first demos had 2 sets of seat stays. To me, looked really sort of weighty and unwieldy. You didn't need all that framework on there.
One thing worth mentioning though, 2 seat stays or not, that bike has won 2 World Championship gold medals.
Can't argue with that. Designed by suspension guru Chris Porter, not a person scared of pushing the envelope and putting his money where his mouth is. This takes the relatively new idea of forward technology, basically a long reach on the bike, to a whole new level.
Yeah, based around a very slack head angle up front and a long cockpit for the rider to move around in, plus a massive wheelbase. So obviously super stable when it comes to high speeds.
Yeah, available in 3 different sizes, long, longer and longest. This is not a normal mountain bike.
Using a URT suspension design, the Klein Mantra is not only one of the ugliest bikes we've ever seen, but also one of the worst performing ones.
URTs are quite a flawed design because the bottom bracket is actually part of the rear suspension. So the only time you really benefit from the suspension is when you're sat down.
So that's it for our top 10 weirdest bikes. If you feel that we have missed some, please don't forget, leave them in the comments below. We'd like to see them.
I'm sure we have, so send us your freak bikes down there. If you want to see more videos from GMBN, you can click up there for our top 10 mountain bike innovations.
Yeah, and if you'd like to see more of the Nikolai Geometron, don't forget to check out Martin's Back on Track video. Just click up here.
I'd say click down there, Mark, because if they click up there, they go to the other one.
Don't worry, click down there.
That's it. Or click on us to subscribe to the channel. Thumb up, like. It's free.